Hi guys, it's Jason from Head First. Recently I had the pleasure of meeting Aussie legends Joel and Brett from the band Airbourne. The guys brought around a collection of their Melbourne-based Marshall heads. It's a combination of non-master volume super leads and master volume 2203, 2204 amps, all from the 70s with a couple in the early 80s. These guys run their rigs the old school way. There's no effects, there's no pedals, they are just straight into the amp and they have plenty of volume. So we wanted to make these amps as close to factory as possible, as if they just come out of the factory. No mods, okay? So I'm going to do a series of videos where I'll just kind of the collection of 7 heads that they brought around, there's a couple of notable ones that I really wanted to focus in on in terms of a before and after scenario. So I will show you the amplifiers on the bench, the state of them when I received them, and obviously the kind of return to factory work that I performed. But also I'm going to be reamping a simple rhythm riff through the amp, and so you'll hear a before and after. So let's get into it. We're going to start with a 1974 Super Lead. All right, so here we are with 74 Super Lead. And this one, I believe, is Brett's. And my notes here, doesn't break up, okay, quote unquote. Has been modded, unknown history. Now, I have actually had a chance to just play that AC/DC riff that I have got on loop, and I've reamped it back through this amp. And I know what Brett means by it doesn't break up. You've really got to crank this up before you get any kind of overdrive. It stays relatively clean. And I've had an opportunity to kind of have a bit of a look through this. I wouldn't say it's kind of modded. Well, look, it's definitely had some work, and there are some non-standard values in it, no doubt about that. So yeah, look, it's not heavily modded, but it's not, I wouldn't say that it's a stock factory spec 1959 Super Lead. The very first thing that you might have already seen is this. This would have been a 470 picofarad cap, right? It's the treble cap that goes across the treble side of the 470k mixer resistors. So I noticed that it was kind of a bit loose, and so I just touched it, and one of the legs had already broken off. And when I moved it, the second leg broke off, and the whole thing just came out in my hand. So for some time, this amp has not had a treble cap over that side of the 470k mixer resistors, and that will make a big difference to the top end and this kind of, you know, the notion that it's not really breaking up. 0.47 microfarad bypass cap on this 2K7 cathode for the treble. That's not a standard value. Now, we all know that Marshall just kind of used whatever was available if they ran out of parts. So this could have been like this from the factory. But I suspect that maybe over time, maybe someone put it in there. This should be a 0.68, not a 0.47. We do have a 0.68 presence cap here, which doesn't look factory, the way that this has been soldered in. So I'm going to put a 0.1 here, and I'm going to try and reuse this guy as the bypass cap over here. This ceramic cap here, which is the coupler for the treble channel, 0.0022 microfarad. That's certainly not factory, and you can see it's just been tack soldered on the top there. I am going to replace that. It's the correct value, but it's not the correct type of cap. We're going to put an axial mustard style cap in there, probably a Mallory M150 or an MKT 1813. I will see. This bright cap is the other thing that I'll mention, is clearly not stock. I have measured this, had a look at it. It looks to be 2,200 picofarad.
which is about half the value it should be, right? So we should have 4700 here for standard super lead. The rest of the board, we've had a number of things replaced over its life. You can see these caps here. I think they're probably Panasonic by the look of it. All 22 nanofarad. They're the right value. So just over time, the original mustards would have failed or whatever. A bunch of these other resistors here have all been replaced, but I've kind of been through and measured them, and they're all basically in spec. That is bias caps here replaced with some radial caps rather than axial, but it's I think it's been done okay. Some other weird things just with the power supply. So the power transformer looks the correct age, like when I turn the chassis over and have a look at it, it looks like the correct vintage, but all of this has been kind of redone. There's a new pilot light in here that's been tacked into some existing wiring, and I don't know whether this power transformer has actually been replaced at some point with with another PT that's of the same era, or all of this kind of non-factory stuff here is simply because the mains voltage select has been disconnected, which is pretty common. So this is hardwired at 240, and whoever did it actually wrote the colors on the chassis here, which is pretty handy. The safety earth is going here. I don't like that, so I think I will definitely find a new place for that to go with its own ground lug, completely separate from everything else, as it should be. This is weird. Okay, so there's like a tag strip that's screwed into the side of the chassis, and there's this blue wire, and it goes all the way and connects over here. I haven't traced this through properly yet, but I believe that this is the center tap for the AC heater filament wind. And someone decided to ground it way over here. Don't know why. I will say this amp at idle is dead quiet. Absolutely no 100 hertz or 50 hertz hum in this thing at all. So the grounding scheme in this, as strange as it might look in places, it's definitely working because the amp, as I said, is dead silent. So we're going to do the AB thing on this as well, right? So I've recorded this as it is. I'm going to make these changes, which I've already discussed, and then we will reamp it and we'll have a listen. So let's go through these changes, guys. I've put let's talk about the presence cap first of all. So that's 0.1, and the 0.68 microfarad that was there is now nicely sitting in there. And that original, well, I actually don't think this was original. I don't think this was factory. I think this was put in at some point in its life. This is actually the correct spec of what would have been here originally. 0.0022 microfarad new coupler here for the treble channel. A pair of 470 picofarad ceramics in here. These are the 562R Vichy caps, and so that's the treble pica for the high treble channel on the 470K, and this is the treble cap, which is wired to the 330 the 33K slope resistor, and on the other side it goes to the triple pot. That was actually a 220 picofarad. I think I said 2,200 picofarad. That blue one that was there was actually only 220, which is just a little bit of sparkle on the top end, really. So now we've got big stonking 4700 in there, and it sounds legit. The rest of this I've just left alone. Tidied this up a little bit, regrounded it for the safety ground. So now it has, maybe you can see that on the video, I'll just tilt it back a bit. It has its own dedicated ground lug right kind of underneath the IEC power there. Other than that, this amps in good nick. It's really nice and quiet, and it's sounding really great.
If you're into DIY and modding, then head over to our DIY supply store over at EvolveDIY.com. And if you're ready for the real thing, then do check out our amps at headfirstamps.com. Links down in the description of the video.